Hey everyone, Cameron Eldred here. I am a doctorate in athletic training student through Indiana State University. Many of you may have seen me before now, but today we're just going to talk a little bit about how my semester's going, how I feel about my research, and a little bit about conflict resolution. For me, this actually all kind of plays into one recently. So this semester so far, I'm kind of, past that hump day, or the Wednesday of the semester, as many of us would call it. I really went through a time there where I was just kind of going along. I wasn't giving it my all. My morale was really down. I think a lot of that had to do with some things that were going on in my life that are currently still going on, but I found a way to manage them. And I felt like I was just overwhelmed with the workload all the time. But, I've kind of started getting back into a groove. I'm scheduling my life again. Things have gotten a lot better. So the other thing that I really needed to talk about is kind of how my research is going as it pertains to, writing my research proposal and stuff like that. I've really kind of struggled with that just because I didn't have a clear eye of where I wanted my research to go. However, after consulting with somebody else who is doing something similar to me and consulting with a couple of my professors, it's really come to light as to what I really think I want to focus on the most. But this semester we had the opportunity to implement a couple of different things that we wanted to look at. It's not necessarily like big research things. However, for me, it plays into conflict resolution. So one thing I've noticed at my clinical site is that none of the coaches believe in doing dynamic warm-ups. They don't believe in stretching. They think that the patients and the athletes should be able to just go 100% immediately, straight from being cold. So that's something that I really kind of had some bigger issues with. And when I would bring it up, I would kind of get the look of, well, this is the way we've always done it and we're not changing it. After a conversation with my athletic director, we found that not patient education, but coach education would be the best resolution for this, because he's with me 100% that we need to implement some type of a prevention model of stretching and warm-up in order to, of course, prevent injuries, especially because we're spread so thin. We're at a smaller location. We don't have as many athletes to go around. So something that I've decided to do, that I've started doing this semester, is I am working on looking at hamstring flexibility, because I've noticed a lot of the patients I work with have zero hamstring flexibility. It's kind of actually embarrassing and ridiculous. And I've noticed that a lot of that is playing into their nonspecific low back pain when they start to get physically active again after being non-active for a few months. A lot of them didn't do anything over the summer, or they may have played, baseball through the summer and then they don't do anything in the fall and then suddenly pick back up in the winter. So a lot of the patients I'm seeing are like, oh man, it's like all of a sudden I got physically active. All of a sudden my low back pain started coming back. Oh, my hamstrings are bugging and things like that. So I'm starting to see a correlation between those. So what I've done is I am measuring hamstring flexibility as well as hip range of motion using a goniometer, and I have implemented a stretching regimen with all of the athletes, but those who are having more severe problems, I've logged all of their measurements and their data. And I'm also having them fill out a disablement in the physically active scale form. Now, this is a blank one just to protect the patients from HIPAA, but it's a fantastic way for them to really kind of get out how they're feeling and how this has been impeding them. So what my plan is, in order to kind of address the situation that it has presented itself with the coaches, is I'm going to compile all this data over the next 2 months while we get through basketball season. At the end of basketball season, I want to be able to present the data and show that we've made a significant difference. I want to be able to show them the disablement forms and show them, yes, this person had pain. The question is, do I have pain 0 to 4? Maybe they put moderate pain and now they're down to does not affect. Okay, so that's good. That's an increase. So, my conflict resolution just comes from, there's a lot of tradition in the sense that they've always done things a certain way around my clinical site. And when I mention breaking that tradition, it doesn't really turn out very well, and they generally get upset, or they say, well, why are we going to do this? So something I've started to notice when I do run into those situations is education. Education has been key, and making sure that everything that I do defines my worth. So it shows that I'm actually doing my job, but it also shows that it's benefited the patients. It's benefited the athletes that I work with. And as soon as I can prove that something has benefited the team or their players or their athletes, the patients, whatever you would like to call it, they're a lot more receptive to the information that I have to give. So what I'm hoping, my end goal, the reason for doing what I'm doing is not only for conflict resolution to prove my worth, it is also for the benefit of the athlete, the patients that I worked with. So, this kind of like encompasses a lot of different things, like recent conflict I've had because I've had this conversation with multiple coaches. I've talked a little bit about how I feel that education is definitely the way that I approach a lot of situations. But I also like to give people time. I like to let them think things over, and then once they're ready, I like them to come, talk to me, or, a lot of times there's just a quick like, hey, want to make sure we're good. But I always try to be very respectful in situations where people just don't feel like, we might find a resolution. So, there's a lot of different things that are going on in my life right now that I can use in conflict resolution. Again, I feel like proving my worth, and I feel like having the ability to show that I'm benefiting the patients has been fantastic. So, thank you for listening to my update, guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, day, week, whatever it is, whenever you're watching this. Have a good one.